Right, well, earlier in the show, I asked people to phone in, tell me what they were up to, and I think we have John from Basingstoke on the line, who actually is referencing my earlier comment about my health. John, are you there?
I am indeed, Mark. Hello, Mark. This is John Ashe with an E from Basingstoke, calling into your wonderful show yet again on a Monday.
Fantastic. Lovely to hear from you, John. So how are you? How's your health these days?
Oh, my health isn't too bad. My blood pressure is reasonably under control at the moment. And I'm trying to sort out what I'm supposed to eat. And it's a little bit awkward, isn't it? Because you get so many competing voices to what you're supposed to put in your mouth these days.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. What sort of things are you struggling with, John, then, in terms of... I would have thought eating healthy, lots of fruit and veg.
Yeah, can I just correct you? You said that you could say that, but in fact I did say that. I said I quite clearly remember saying that to you.
Oh, right.
However, yes, yes, I'm very keen on fruit and veg. I'm probably keener on veg than I am on fruit. And, amazingly, I've heard people say that fruit has got a lot of sugar in it, so you need to avoid that. I mean, I can quite understand when people are talking about, stuffing sugar in your mouth, like putting it into your tea and coffee or having it in a cake or a biscuit or something like that. Yes, I can see there's added sugar. Not a good idea, probably. Not good for heart disease and all that jazz. But however, when it comes to fruit, that grows on trees, doesn't it? It's sort of provided by the good Lord, the Maker, and why can't we put that in our mouth? So I think some other people talk about, yes, but that sugar is all bound up with other aspects of the fruit in a sort of healthy matrix within the tissue of the fruit. And so, yes, I could probably think that maybe that's sort of mitigation of the health risk. But even so, some people are saying, fruit, just stick to vegetables. It's amazing. It's an absolute labyrinth of confusion these days.
It's a minefield, isn't it?
It is indeed a minefield and a labyrinth and all kinds of other things mixed together, Mark.
Of course, fruit has natural sugar that I think it gets into your bloodstream. It's better for you than sugar from, processed food, isn't it? Or indeed, as you say, shoveling great, teaspoonfuls of sugar in your coffee. I think natural sugar is okay in moderation, right?
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? And yet lots of people are talking about fructose or fructose, depending on which area of the country you come from. And fructose, I suppose very close to the word fruit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is in fruit. Whereas table sugar is sucrose or sucrose and fructose or fructose mixed together. And it's fructose or fructose is supposed to be the not so good one.
Right.
Whereas the other one is... Sorry, the glucose. I do apologise. I've made a mistake on air. I do apologise. No, I do apologise. Glucose or fructose is sucrose, which is the table sugar.
So is it glucose or glucose?
Fructose or fructose.
But just glucose.
Well, up here, up there where my daughter lives, in the Yorkshire region. It's fructose.
Right.
But down here in Basingstoke, where I live, it's fructose, you see.
Right, okay. So fructose is in... let me get this straight. Fructose is in fruit, or is it sucrose, or is it glucose?
I believe that fructose is in fruit, and that in sucrose, or sucrose, which is table sugar, you have both glucose and fructose, or fructose.
Right.
And so actually, since fructose or fructose is supposed to be not as good for you as glucose, it turns out that fruit isn't as good as table sugar, although table sugar, of course, is not in some healthy matrix. It's not in a tissue, it's just there on the table. Whereas, of course, fruity tissue could mitigate the unhealthy aspect of fructose or fructose. So it's all very confusing.
It is, isn't it?
And yet fruit is reputed to be very good for you. So it's all very, very confusing indeed.
What's your favourite fruit, John?
Probably bananas, which are not supposed... Well, they are supposed to be good for you and not supposed to be good for you. I mean, they're not good for you because they do have lots of carbohydrates in, which turn out to be a bunch of sugar in the end when your body's finished with it. But they're supposed to be really good for you because they've got lots of potassium in, and we need that for all kinds of things. So I don't know. It's a total minefield, as you say, and a labyrinth, Mark.
Fructose. Potassium for your bones, right?
Well, for all kinds of things.
Right.
For your muscles. Muscles can't operate properly without potassium. Your heart, supposed to be good for that.
Eyes?
Yes.
Eyes?
Probably.
Yeah.
Earlobes, all sorts of things.
Yeah. Now, talking about eyes, carrots. Now, here's the thing. Moving on to the old vegetable, the vegetabale. I mean, what sort of vegetables do you like? Let's forget the fruit. Put the fruit in a corner. Put the fruit in a basket. Shut the door on it. What about vegetables, John? Do you eat vegetables?
I do indeed. Carrots. Yes, I do eat carrots. Beans, peas, parsnips, cabbage.
Yep.
Broccoli.
Yep.
Swede.
Yep.
Cauliflower.
Yep.
All those sorts of things. Greens. That's funny, that. You have a vegetable called greens. Well, a lot of them green anyway.
You have
I like rare beans. I like French beans.
Yep. Haricot beans?
I like baked beans, haricot beans, black beans, chickpeas. I could go on. Perhaps I won't.
What about pulses?
Yes, I do like pulses as well. Yes.
What about...
Have you ever seen the film Sleeper, starring Woody Allen?
Yes. We're not allowed to talk about Woody Allen, but yes, I have seen him. I have seen the film, yes.
Well, no, he was a bit prescient in that film.
Right.
If you remember that he was frozen cryogenically, and he came back, as it were, in the future.
Yep.
And there are a couple of doctors in that program, in that film, and they're looking at him. He's outside doing something, and they've got their white coats on, and they're looking at him, and they're observing him as if he's the specimen from the past, and they're saying something. I can't remember exactly what it is. Years ago, people used to think that eating things like chocolate cake and syrup waffles were bad for you, and now we know they're the best thing you can eat. And of course, that's satire at the time, you see. And I'm thinking, it turns out to be true. And I'm not saying, of course, that eating chocolate cake or whatever it is the thing that's good for you.
Yeah.
But, there are so many things we've been advised not to eat in the past, like eggs, for example. Don't eat more than a couple of eggs in a week. And now I've got people saying it's okay to eat 1,000 eggs in a day, and it won't harm you at all. So I'm reaching the conclusion, Mark. I have reached the conclusion that basically the safest thing to do is not to eat anything at all. And so that's what I'm going to do from now on. I refuse to eat. I can drink water, of course, maybe tea, something like that. But I'm not going to eat any food going forward, because if it is in fact the case that I cannot work out which food is good or bad for me, that's not to eat anything at all.
John, I think that's probably not a good idea. Anybody listening here will probably say the same. I think eating, you do need to eat something, John.
Well, it's all about paradigms, isn't it, Mark? People are saying, well, under this paradigm, this kind of food is not so good, and under that paradigm, the opposite is not so good. And I'm thinking, well, there's one major paradigm which people don't ever consider, and that is the business of eating itself. So if we change that paradigm, perhaps the wisest thing to do is just to avoid everything you possibly can. That might be embarrassing in all situations, but have to say, no, thanks very much. Breakfast, lunch and dinner, and supper, and when you're out.
What? Okay, John.
Restaurant. Excuse me, sir, what would you like? Well, nothing, thanks.
I suppose you wouldn't go in, would you?
Well, I may be forced in by my family and just sit there. Yeah. I could have a glass of water.
I mean, John, what happens... Okay, so, look, I don't think that's a good idea. But what happens, say, this evening or tomorrow morning, when you suddenly get a bit peckish and a glass of water won't suffice? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm told that if you go without food for long enough, you don't feel hungry anymore. I think that's... I presume if I get to that point, it shouldn't be a problem, should it?
No, but you'll feel very, very hungry up until then, I would have thought, for the next few weeks.
Well, maybe so, but I'm of strong character. And so let's say in a fortnight from now, maybe sooner, when I don't feel hungry anymore, I should be all right for the rest of my life.
Okay, and I think that's... Look, I mean, we are calling from a hospital here. This is a hospital radio station, so I do feel obliged to say, John, that is not a good idea, not eating. Have you thought about... I mean, I remember some time ago you were phoning in talking about your diet, your regimen, and you mentioned that you like crisps. How about eating at least some crisps for me? How's that?
Well, now, that is quite an appealing idea, I have to say. I've not heard anybody... No, I have said. Yes, I have. It's my doctor who said that crisps are not good for you. So I decided to binge on crisps for a while, and I found that my blood pressure actually improved. It's all an absolute minefield, and I really don't know what to do. Yeah. I mean, maybe I won't do this not eating business. Perhaps I'll just eat as much as I can, but maybe that's the wrong paradigm. I'm absolutely confused about this, so I don't know whether you can help me, Mark.
Well, I mean, crisps aren't fruit and vegetables, are they?
Well, I think they're vegetables, aren't they? They come from vegetables.
Potatoes?
Yes.
I suppose somewhere down the line they probably do. I'm talking more about your sort of your bugles and your Wotsits and that sort of thing. Really, I mean, who knows what they're made from?
No. I must make it clear that, of course, in this experiment of not eating, I'm not suggesting that anybody applies to anybody else. This is just a purely
right.
a pure self-experiment. And I'll probably do this for a week or two and see where I get to.
Have you mentioned it to your family? You're going to do this? What's their reaction?
No, I haven't. No, I've not mentioned it to anybody yet. I'm anticipating my wife objecting vociferously.
Yeah. I mean, you could always not mention it and somehow dispose of the food, I suppose, without her seeing.
Well, it's going to be very difficult at Christmas, I think, when she will have made a lovely Christmas cake and Christmas dinner and Christmas pudding. It's going to be pretty tricky with a plate full of food right in front of you and somehow to secrete that away into a bag or something. I don't know how I'm going to do that. It's going to be pretty awkward. I may have to make an exception for Christmas dinner. I might have to eat that. No. And, of course, Boxing Day. And I will, of course, also have to make an exception for New Year's Day, because we always have a bit of a slap-up dinner on that. And New Year's Eve, actually. There's a long tradition of that. And as it happens, we have a number of family birthdays. Early in the new... I think I might leave... Actually, I don't think I'll do this.
No. Good idea.
No,
John.
I think you've helped to talk me out of this one, Mark.
Well,
actually, coming to think about it slightly more reasonably, I suppose if one were to go without food for long enough, I suppose you run out of nutrients and it might not be very good for you at all. So, no, perhaps it was an idle thought on a blowy, wintry day.
Right.
Yes, an idle thought.
Well, that's good, John. I'm glad to hear you talk yourself out of it, because chatting to you on a weekly basis is a very interesting and enlightening for our listeners. So wouldn't want that to stop for any reason. So I'm glad you could. So you're not going to you're going to continue eating in moderation. I think the thing is, isn't it? Eat things in moderation. That's what we used to be told.
Yeah, I think that's very sensible. Yes, moderation in all things. Of course, that doesn't apply to 3-in-1 oil or something like that. You wouldn't want to eat that at all.
No.
Or drink that, of course, in that case. No. Of course, you have to apply these principles with a sense of common sense, really, don't you? Yeah. But this business of not eating, which I have to admit that I did start that this morning, and I was determined to continue that for well into the new year. I think I will. Yes, you talked me out of that. I shall have a spot of lunch.
Oh, all right, okay. What are you going to have?
Late lunch, I suppose, by now.
What are you going to have? Well, yeah, late lunch. What are you going to have for your late lunch, John?
Let's call it high tea.
Yes.
High tea, afternoon tea, or
Tiffin?
Something like that.
Tiffin?
Pardon?
Tiffin.
Oh, well, whatever it's called. I thought that was a cake. I'm not having a cake.
Right.
That's asking for trouble.
Okay.
I don't know. I might have some sardines. I think I've not heard anybody say that sardines aren't healthy.
Right. Good. That's good. Yeah. Okay, John, do you have a record you'd like us to play? Something to put on the virtual turntable?
I do, yes. Now, this is something that Molly was very fond of, and so I'd like to shout out for her.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to play... It's a piece by Joel Billy, and it's called... Well, my daughter these days would call it Uptown Girl, where she lives, whereas before she would have called it Uptown Girl, and I still call it Uptown Girl. I'm quite fond of that song myself.
Right. Joel Billy?
That's correct, yes, I'd like to hear that. Joel William, I think, must be his real name.
No, I think... Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's actually Billy Joel, John.
Well, no authority on singer-songwriters, so I'll go with what you say. Well, either way, I don't mind whether it's Joel Billy or Billy Joel.
Okay, well, we'll get it on for you. We'll get Uptown Girl by Joel Billy or Billy Joel, whichever I find first. How's that?
Excellent. Well, if you could play both, that would be brilliant.
Now, did you dance this as a young man?
No, that was after that. Yeah. I'd like to have done, had it been produced around that time, but no, I just missed out on that.
Okay, and then no need to ask for a shout-out, because you'll presumably do a shout-out for Molly.
Have I not already said that?
You mentioned it's Molly's favourite song.
Yeah, well, let's do a shout-out to Molly then. Yes, please. That'd be great.
All right. Good. Well, I'm glad you're going back to the eating, and enjoy your sardines, and have a lovely afternoon, John.
Thank you very much. I'm quite hungry now. Yes, great to speak to you. Wonderful show, as always. And, yes, I shall listen to the rest and have my high tea, a bunch of sardines, and glass of water.
Lovely. Cheerio, John.
Okay, bye-bye, Mark.
Darren's Bar.